In Rays of Light is a game that once I saw it, I was intrigued. And there was a part of me that was screaming to try it out. It just looked very interesting with the destroyed buildings and with the nice piano that was playing in the trailer. As I played more and more of the game, I really loved it. Even though when you look at this game, it's really nothing but a walking simulator. So, walking simulators are looked down upon by, I feel like, most gamers because, well, the only thing you do is walk and that's it. Many horror games have even taken this approach, which also gets a lot of criticism from people. And, while I love games with fun gameplay and games that, can give me a challenge and boss fights where at the end I feel awesome for defeating them, sometimes I just want to play a game where I walk around and it tells me a story. I really like walking sims. And they do have amazing stories in them that I feel like if you can just get over the gameplay, then you will actually really like these games because they do have really good stories. Games like, Gone Home, What Remains of Edith Finch, or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture are games I love because, while the gameplay is just walking, they have very emotional stories that you get very involved into that, if there was anything else to the gameplay, I feel like it would kind of distract from the story and, the tone and everything that walking sims are really trying to get across. Gone Home is about your character coming to your family's new house after a year of being in Europe, and as you walk around, you see discover what they've been dealing with since you've been gone.
Hi, Mom. So I got my ticket home from Europe. I get back on June 6th, but it's a really late flight because that was the cheapest, so it gets in at midnight. But don't worry, I'll get a shuttle from the airport so you don't have to pick me up. Really, seriously, you don't have to. Okay, so love you. See you soon. Bye.
What Remains of Edith Finch is all about Edith returning home, and as she goes through the house, she talks about the curse on the family and how everyone in the family has died. And, they are both wonderfully amazing stories. Even though the gameplay is very weak, and Rays of Light is very similar. It very much is similar in that way, where while it is just a walking sim, and all you do is walk, I really do love this story. I love the story. I love this game. And I love the story that this game tells, and also the location the game sets place in. So, In Rays of Light was made by Sergei Noskov, which I don't know who that is, but this game lets you know that he made it. And you may have noticed his name sounds like a Russian name. Well, this game takes place in Russia, and I believe Moscow, because of this note right here. This game looks absolutely beautiful and looks like it looks like real life. It really looks like real life. And as you walk around, you have piano music playing in the background, which all the music in this game was made by a Dmitry Nolikov, which I know I'm mispronouncing these names. I am very sorry about that. I do not know how to say Russian names. I just simply don't. So I'm sorry about mispronouncing these names. But all the music sounds so beautiful, so calming, and you'll have some piano playing, you'll have some acoustic guitars playing. The soundtrack is so amazing. Now there's nothing gameplay wise to talk about, right? You can walk and even sprint and jump. However, jumping is basically worthless in this game. At most, jumping is used for if you get stuck, because the controls can be a little wonky sometimes with the walking, but jumping is worthless. You also have an inventory, and you can swap from having a pipe in your hands, which can help you open doors, a map of the school you're in, but it doesn't tell you where you are, so you have to figure out yourself and basically use what's around you as clues on where you are on the map. And you will get a lighter to open some ways up, but also as another light source other than your flashlight, and that you will get at the beginning of the game. So, I was talking about Gone Home and What Remains of Edith Finch earlier. And, how both of them give you like an idea of the story where you start, and then they kind of build from there to tell a very emotional story. And Razor Light does that, but kind of in a different way. You basically just start the game by just looking at a static TV. There's nothing else. There's no cutscene, there's no dialogue. The game just starts, and you can just move. When you leave the room, and you will see a flashlight on the wall, and you will take that for you to use, and then you will find a pipe to open the door so you can explore the rest of the school. And I should mention, this game kind of has puzzles. Like, it does have puzzles, and it gives you zero clue about anything. It just lets you go, and when you come across something, you have to basically just figure it out. Like, probably the first puzzle you will do is getting into the lecture hall. You have to find the key because the door is locked, but the game gives you zero hints as to where to look. So you have to walk around, search each and every room, and the map will have little circles that I think tell you that, something important is in the room. But, you have to find the room because the map doesn't tell you where you are. However, you don't just need the key, you can get the tapes for the projector. And you need like a 3-number code. And you find that by looking at some pictures that are around the school. And then once you find them, you get to the lecture hall. But then it needs power, so you have to find the basement key in order to get to the generator. And then you have to look for fuel. And there are so many puzzles like this. There are many puzzles and stuff like this. And the game doesn't tell you or give you any hints about like just anything. You just basically walk in and then you have to figure it out. And I honestly really like this. It isn't hard. Like, you really just have to keep your eyes open and look at everything to make sure you didn't miss it, or read some notes that will tell you. And like, there is always like an answer to something. Like, you do have to think about it. And I love this. It always made me happy when I figured out what to do without looking up a guide. And instead, taking my time with it. Also, I really love just how destroyed this school is. Like, you immediately question what happened. Did Russia get nuked or bombed? Where is everyone? Why are you the only person here? Everything is destroyed, but you get a sense that people were here. And you can find notes left by people. When you enter the lecture hall, it's probably my favorite moment in the entire game. Because, it's been like kind of quiet. Other than like the music playing like sometimes. But then, you enter the lecture hall. And you hear what sounds like children laughing and talking, and basically what a full classroom would sound like. But, the lecture hall is destroyed. Desks are thrown all over the place and destroyed, and everything you see is just destroyed. And above it all is a sign that says, "God bless Russian education." But you see a "God bless Russian education" banner for an empty room that once held discussions of education and learning and is now empty other than the fading memories. And it's just very haunting, which, this game has many moments like this. Where you will hear an echo of a noise or like, people talking, and it does bring chills because while you never come into danger in this game, you still feel haunted by what feels like the people who used to work and learn in this school. So after getting the feel for the generator in the basement, a air raid happens, and this game really gives you the feeling of being in an air raid, and it's kind of haunting, and it's nowhere near what a real experience of being in an air raid would be. I personally don't know what that feels like, but it gives you kind of a sense that, hey, this is what it feels like to be in an air raid. You can say it doesn't do that great a job because it's a video game, but yeah, I feel like, it gives you kind of like a feeling of what it's like to be in an air raid. You then have to walk around in sewers, and this part actually did scare me a little bit because, especially when the game, it makes you turn around, and it really makes you think that something is actually coming after you. But, you have to find a number code again, and then when you get out, you hear a phone ring. So the power is back online, and after seeing what looks like missiles flying through the air, and then have to play a crane game to grab a fuse so you can get power to the lecture room, which this was a little annoying, and then you can watch the projector. So from this, I think it's very clear that, the story of this game was very much Russia was at war and then was nuked by a bomb, and that killed everybody at this school. And your character is basically the only person left. However, once you leave the lecture hall, the hallway is pitch black, and you're in a hallway with lots of TVs making noise and showing war footage, I think. It's hard to tell what's, the TVs are showing. But then, you see a bright light, and after walking into it,
Есть что-то прекрасное в заброшенных и полуразрушенных останках былой цивилизации. Это отголоски нашей многогранной истории. Величественные сооружения некогда процветающего человечества, безмолвно доживающие свой век, проросшие зеленью, потрепанные войной и временем, являются отпечатком великой эпохи. Эпохи тех, кто был слишком самоуверен и беспечен, эгоистичен и жесток, кто, к сожалению, или, может, к счастью, не смог отстоять свое право на жизнь.
And, that is in Rays of Light. And this might be my favorite walking simulator. I know people don't like walking sims, and if every game was like this, then yeah, I would hate it. But I don't, I don't mind the occasional walking simulator, especially when the story is great like this, like how this game's story was. And Rays of Light feels haunting, and there was moments where, I thought a jump scare was coming. I thought it was going to happen, but it never did. And, the location was really cool. It was cool having a game set in Russia, which, I felt like many games aren't. Like, the only one I can really think of is the Metro games. And, this is most likely because, the US and Russia have, been, enemies since, the beginning of time. Like, United States and Russia have always hated each other, always been, enemies, and, even now, time making this video, it's the threat of nuclear war with Russia again. But, I absolutely love this game. And, I don't think I would say it's my favorite, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I don't think I would even put it in the top 20. It's not up, it's not, that far up. Because, it is still like a walking simulator. And why I love walking simulators, I do prefer, games with, fun gameplay. Games where it combines a fantastic story, but with really fun gameplay. With bosses, with, just, stuff that you normally expect when it comes to video games. But, I do love this game, and I do love walking simulators. And, this is probably my favorite walking simulator. I really did love In Rays of Light, and it was only $7 or $8 on the Xbox store. So it was a very cheap game. It was a very cheap game, and I was like, what, I'm gonna buy it. I want to play it because I'm interested just by looking at this trailer, and this game was really good. Sergey, wherever you are, you did fantastic, and Dimitri, your music was beautiful. Your music was beautiful. And the piano, the strings, playing, it was just honestly, In Rays of Light is, it may not have been long. It's a very short game when you know what you're doing. It it is just a walking simulator, but it's I honestly think it's that's what's great about walking simulators, is the fact that it can tell this very gripping story that really gets to you. Because, by the end of this game, it's the story really gets to you. It really does get to you. And you're just man, that hits hard. And then you're oh man, the only thing I did throughout this game was just walk. But it's yeah, but the story made up for it. Again, I prefer games that, have fun gameplay and mix that, has really great stories, but also has really great gameplay. I prefer that, but I don't hate walking simulators. I don't hate walking simulators. Do I want gaming to be walking simulators? Absolutely not. But I do think walking simulators have a purpose in gaming. I do not think we should just get rid of walking simulators because people just find them they're just unpopular with people, and people are no, we need gameplay all the time. It's nah, walking simulators have their place and their purpose. And In Rays of Light, in my opinion, perfectly just showed this. It was just so amazing. It did kind of just stay on the final ending screen after the credits rolled, which after a while I just exited out because I was okay, well, I beat the game anyway. I don't know if there's multiple endings. Like if I play the game again, I'll like figure it out. But I really did love this game. This game was really great, and it was very cheap. It was $7 or $8 on the Xbox store. I highly recommend like people play this game. It was really good. Sergey, you did amazing. Dimitri, your music was amazing, and I absolutely loved this game. And I will see you guys all in the next video, whatever that may be. See you all later.